Some people don't like one-on-one coaching. I got no problem with it. I love it. I love getting to lock eyes with people and say, what are you struggling with? And let's focus in on that and solve that pain point. So those were the first couple of aha moments where I saw something working and I just doubled down on that. And I've just slowly added things to the monetization, what I call the podcast monetization pyramid, kind of your business portfolio of offers. And we test and I listen to my audience. And if they don't want it, I don't build it. That's my basic rule.
What's up, my friend, and welcome to Grit, Grace, and Inspiration. I am your host, Kevin Lowe. 20 years ago, I awoke from a life-saving surgery only to find that I was left completely blind. And since that day, I've learned a lot about life, a lot about living, and a lot about myself. And here on this podcast, I want to share those insights with you. Because, friend, if you are still searching for your purpose, still trying to understand why, or still left searching for that next right path to take, well, consider this to be your stepping stone to get you from where you are to where you want to be. What's happening, my friend? How are you today? Looking good, feeling good, as always. I love it. My name is Kevin Lowe, your host, as well as transformation coach, helping you to step into your next best chapter of life. Today is episode number 204, and I am in the studio with a guy named Adam Schaeuble. Adam is a dude who I've known for a while, a guy who I looked up to and still look up to, still admire in the podcasting space. Now, when I first met Adam, it was through his podcast called Podcasting Business School. And as a guy who was trying to grow a podcast and trying to make a business out of the podcast, well, you can pretty much say that Adam was the golden ticket. Now, that's what got me attracted to what he had to share. But then once I got into Adam's realm and I got to become friends with Adam, that's when I became a super fan. That's when I really started to admire Adam, because Adam is a guy who is bigger than life and yet has a heart even bigger than that. The guy is all about giving more than he could ever receive. That's one of the aspects that has me loving Adam Schaeuble so much. The other aspect that I find so admiring is the fact that even though he's an entrepreneur, even though he's a podcaster, even though he's growing a business, has a successful business, he puts family first. Matter of fact, the dude does all that he does inside of 3 days. A 3-day work week, that is it. We are going to talk about that. Trust me. As I said, Adam, he's a unique guy. He packs a lot into an episode, just like he packs a lot into a 3-day work week. It was an absolute pleasure to have him in this little mini series on the podcast, as I get to bring you the stories of my most favorite people in the podcasting space. Now, here's the big thing. It's not just about podcasting. It's not just about Adam. It's about you, my listener. And my hope is that as you listen to Adam's story today, you can really start to look at your own life. Because Adam's been through the ups and downs. He has faced burnout. He has been in a career that was literally killing him. And I can't help but wonder, is that the case for you? Are you so overworked, underappreciated, and just not living like you want to live to the point that you're at your breaking point? If so, then please keep listening, because you need to hear this story more than anyone else. With that said, with that little PSA out of the way, I am excited to introduce you to my friend, to podcaster, to none other than Adam with Podcasting Business School.
I forget how many years deep I was into my entrepreneurial journey, but in a previous life before podcasting, I was a gym owner. And the moment I'm thinking of was the first time of three, the first time that I worked myself into the hospital. I passed out in the middle of the night, got up to use the bathroom and just passed out. My wife she couldn't even open the door because I was kind of laying in front of the door. She called an ambulance, and my son, Henry, this must have been about 12 years ago now, because he's 12 years old now, and he was in the crib at that point. And I remember just being hauled down the steps, going by his room. He's crying in the crib. My wife's freaking out. And it was all because I was working so much and I had a business that was exploding. So good entrepreneurial things were happening, but I wasn't taking care of my personal well-being by just working and working and working and working. So from that point on, I attempted to start making better choices. By the third time that this had happened, I was fully committed to making better choices. And, between then and, 12 years later, now I operate with a 3-day work week, and I spend more time being a dad and a husband and a family guy than I do being an entrepreneur. So that was definitely the moment that started the shift in my life.
Wow. That's insane. Now, you said during this time you owned a gym.
Yep.
So how did that come to be? And what in the world is involved in a gym that has you in that type of situation?
Okay. So great question. So I had kind of a boot camp fitness facility. We did group boot camp classes. We did personal training. And I graduated from college. I went to Indiana University. I got my exercise science degree. So my mindset was to be in the fitness and health field. And I kind of started off just doing personal training. And that side of things really took off because I've always, Kevin, you know me pretty well. Like I've always been a systems driven person. I see a pain point, I look to solve it, and I look to create a system around that solution. And that's really effective when it comes to, whether it's business development or weight loss or whatever. So I started getting results and I just systematized the results, and I started really becoming a popular personal trainer to the point that my calendar was completely full. So then I was like, all right, I need to be able to coach more than one person at a time or more than small groups. So that's when the boot camp fitness rage started to happen. So I started testing out some of those. And before I knew it, I was doing 100-person boot camps where I'd have 80 or so people coming in to work out with me at 6 a.m. and it just took off. So I had to hire people. So I had this demand, and I was like, okay, I need help. I need other instructors. I ended up hiring a general manager. And before I know it, I've got like 20 plus employees. I mean, the business just exploded, and we got our own facility, an 8,000 square foot facility, and business was just booming. But the issue that I had was I didn't delegate enough in line with the pace of the growth, because you can't just do it all. As an entrepreneur, you just can't do all the things. You have to delegate and get more help as things scale and grow. So that's where I really made my mistake. I didn't let go of enough things at the same rate as what we were growing. And we had explosive growth. So over just a short amount of time, in the first 3 years of our bootcamp program, we helped my hometown lose 35,000 pounds.
Wow.
So it was insane and insanely popular. But yeah, I kind of failed I just wasn't sleeping. I was working all the time, just living off of caffeine, not living by what I was teaching, not living by the same rules, I should say, as what I was teaching these people. And it caught up to me. So yeah, it was an exciting time. It went by really, really fast. And, I'm glad that things happened the way that they did, because that's how I ended up where I'm at now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what got you into the whole health and fitness space to begin with?
So I grew up in Indiana playing basketball. So, that's like religion in Indiana.
Okay.
So between my junior and senior year, we had a really good basketball team, and we were predicted to be one of the top teams in the state. And the coach wanted everybody to do weightlifting class. And I was like, hard pass. I want to do classes where there are women, and there were no girls ever took weightlifting class.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm here to meet some ladies in high school. I need, this is a poor use of my time. So the coach, and there were a few of us like that, like, oh, weightlifting's not going to work out. So he ended up hiring a strength coach to work with us off site with this group of guys that didn't want to take the weightlifting class. Best thing that ever happened to me, because I still got to network with the ladies in like ceramics class. That was the class I took instead of weightlifting. I took ceramics because that was like all females. I'm like, this is perfect. So, one track mind in high school. So then I met my mentor in the strength and conditioning space, a gentleman named Doug Ballard. He has a gym in Bloomington, Indiana called the Iron Pit Gym. So we go into the Iron Pit Gym, and it changed my life. Like this, he's still a positive role model in my life. We still, talk all the time, text back and forth, share videos of my son now that he's lifting and stuff like that. But super cool that I met this individual basically because I was trying to avoid lifting weights. And then all of a sudden he makes me fall in love with it. My senior year, I do an internship with him, and he's like, you're really good at this. Would you consider as you go through college, working at the gym? And I was like, yeah. And that's how I chose my major. I just fell in love with coaching, but strength development. I loved the mental component that people got out of gaining strength. So that was how all that kind of came about.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So this is really cool. Now, along this kind of journey, and especially I'm wondering, after maybe high school, after college, did you always stay in the fitness industry? Because I guess I'm kind of wondering, like, how long after high school, college, then came about like the gym thing? Like, I wondered if there was any span of time, like, did you always maintain that fitness level?
Yeah. So what happened with me, with my fitness career, first off, I graduated Indiana University in 2003. I did personal training only from 2003 to 2009. 2009 is when I launched my boot camp, and I did that for 10 years, basically. And that's when I sold my gym and went full-time in podcasting at the end of 2019. So that's kind of the business side of things. But it's interesting with my own fitness journey. I had different focus points. So early on, my mentor, Doug, he competed in and still competes in powerlifting and Olympic lifting and strength sports like Scottish Highland Games, where they throw the caber and toss the stones and do all the stuff. So I started doing that. And I'm, 6'3", 6'4", depending on what shoes I'm wearing that day. And to compete in strength sports, if you're a taller individual, you need to be a heavier individual. So I just kept on packing on weight because I wanted to get stronger. And my top weight, I weighed a little bit over 320 pounds. So I was, bench pressing almost 500 pounds and deadlifting, close to 700, squatting over 600 pounds, like all these big strength. I was carrying my fair share of body fat as well. It wasn't like I wouldn't go out and run a marathon or anything for sure. So that was kind of one version of me. And I ended up competing in Highland Games and being one of the top amateur athletes in the country in that sport. And powerlifting, I finished second in the nation in my age group 4 times, and pretty cool experience. But eventually I felt that my health wasn't being optimized, and I got a little bit nervous about maybe this isn't the right track to go on. So I started losing weight, and I, ended up losing over 100 pounds. And now my living walk around weight is about 220 to 230 pounds. So that's kind of my own person. So I went from a very, very strong individual to now I feel like I'm very focused on longevity, feeling good, health optimization, and maintaining good things that are going to make me live longer, not just, and I'm still strong, and I can still go out and play basketball with high school kids and my son and stuff like that. So that's nice too.
Yeah, no, well, I love that so much, man. So I guess I would love to kind of go back to where we kind of started when you talked about that pivotal moment, when you said it was your third massive panic attack. What changes did you start to implement in your life after that?
So honestly, I wasn't really sure what to do, but just like serendipitously, I was in a local BNI group So it's like a business networking group. And one of the individuals in there goes, hey, I'm doing this thing called strategic coach. And I go to Chicago once per quarter. I think you should check it out. So I ended up coming and checking it out. And the first thing that this entrepreneurship mastermind is talking about is tracking the days that you don't work and how much of a difference that will make. And I'm kind of calling BS on it and not, I'm like, well, this is dumb. But then they're like, just do it. Here's how you do it. Here's what we want you to do. Here are the rules. And I started doing it, and it was just like a light bulb went off. I just started taking one day off per week, and I became addicted to that because I was like, wow, when I turn off the work brain, I'm able to turn on the husband brain, the dad brain, the filling my own cup up situation started to happen. And I really saw the light quickly. So I turned from a bad student to an A+ student really quickly. And I mean, ever since then, I've tracked the days that I don't work each year for well over a decade now. And that's pretty cool. And so like, this is my most important metric that I track in my business is how many days I don't work. That's my most important goal. That's how I know that I'm being productive. That's how I know I had a successful business year. I don't view income as my main form of compensation. I view my schedule and my lifestyle and what I'm able to do when I'm not working as my main form of compensation, if that makes sense.
Dude, not only does it make sense, but I mean, talk about a total 180-degree shift in perspective from what I feel like everyone is out there. They're pushing into our heads of, you got to work more. You got to hit the grind. You got to do the thing. You got to always be working. And Adam's like, how can I do work less, spend more time with the stuff that really matters?
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible.
Well, it is unconventional thinking, but the way I see it, I mean, the path that I was on and what I see out in this hustle culture is that entrepreneurs are working themselves into the grave by chasing an infinite amount of income. Like they're chasing the horizon line. I've been in masterminds where people are like, I want to make 6 figures. And all of a sudden I want to make 7 figures. And all of a sudden, like they're never satisfied. It's just like the next thing. And let's just make as much money as possible, but they don't ever ask themselves why. And they don't have like a filter of like enough versus more. Like, what is enough income for me to be happy and to live the life that I want? So that's something I look at every single year. I look at my year, I project expenses for what I want to accomplish with my family. And, like Henry's getting braces, that's $6,000. All right, we got a budget for that, and like, so I look at that each year. I go, all right, how much is this year going to cost? If I live it the way that I want to live it, how much is it going to, do I have to project that it's going to cost? Okay. How much income do I need to bring in with my business, factoring in taxes, factoring in, socking away money for my 401k that I've set up for myself and all this stuff. I just run the numbers and I go, okay, I know how much I need to make. And I only work enough to make that amount, because why would I work more than what it takes to bring in my ideal lifestyle? So I kind of reverse engineer it, and I'm trying to teach other people how to do this. And that's why I'm bringing it up on shows like this, because I want to challenge people to start thinking differently instead of I see so many entrepreneurs just setting random income numbers for no reason. And it's like, there's no why behind that number. It's just a number that you hear other people saying. Like, what if you could live an amazing lifestyle and it only costs $50,000 a year? Why are you trying to make 6 figures? Just take the rest of the time off and go enjoy your perfect lifestyle. So that's the way that I think about it.
Yeah, no, I totally love this so much. So now I've only known you since starting my own podcast, and I think I discovered you soon afterwards. So talk to me about the who, the what, the where, the why, the how. Do we go from panic attack Adam to we're going to spend as much time doing what I love and with the ones that I love, to also, honey, I'm going to stop the gym and start a podcast?
Yeah. Okay. So let's connect the dots here. So when all of the going to the hospital, all that happened, obviously I started taking more time off, but I started looking for opportunities for business leverage. And I started listening to podcasts so I could consume information about like online entrepreneurship, business building. I was like, the online space creates leverage, because I went from one-on-one personal training to group personal training to boot camp personal training, and then to have employees training all these people for me. And I was like, all right, this isn't really the natural progression I want to take, but how can I still scale my message and earn more income with an international audience? And so the first podcast I launched was a weight loss show called The Million Pound Mission. And I started that in 2015. So I was a podcaster for 4.5 years basically, before I went full time. So I was doing the gym and doing the podcast at the same time. And I just figured things out. It took me 3 years to figure out how to make any money, because it was just, I didn't have anybody to help me. I was really struggling to figure things out. But once I did, I was able to kind of reverse engineer a few things and duplicate what worked, get rid of what didn't. And I started creating, again, systems and processes that I would launch a new online course. I was able to do several like $10,000 plus launches and start paying my bills that way, replacing my income. And other people in the health and fitness space saw what I was doing. They go, hey, can I pay you to consult and help me do what you're doing with your health podcast, with your online brand? I was like, yes. And when I saw what they're willing to pay me, that's when the light bulb went off. I was like, wow, I can make so much more income in a shorter amount of time teaching people business than I can. I kind of maxed out my opportunities from a health and fitness perspective. There's a cap, unfortunately, on the amount that people will invest in their own health. Mm-hmm. If you're teaching people how to make money, there's no cap, because they see that as a return on investment. So that's when the light bulb went off. And in that year, 2019, I was able to replace my income fully. And I was like, I'm selling the gym, I'm selling the facility, I'm doing this full time. And I, and some of you are probably thinking, this dude sold his gym in late 2019, right before the pandemic hit. Oh my God, what great timing. And it was, and I was due for it. I was due for some great timing. So I got out at the precise, exact, correct time with that deal. But yeah, so that's how all that kind of tied together. And then eventually I sold the health podcast. That became an asset. And that's something that a lot of podcasters don't think about. But I had built up a 10,000 person email list, an 11,000 person Instagram following. We had 500,000 downloads on that show. And I was able to take that as a sellable asset. And it's transitioned over to my friend Nate, who's doing a great job with it. So yeah, so I went full time, not only in podcasting, but in the business space, which was really exciting. It presented new opportunities, new adventures, new things I had to figure out. And that's where I've been operating, specifically over the last 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah. Well, that's just absolutely incredible. Now, podcasting, there's a lot of people who have the idea to start a podcast. And there's even more who don't make it past 3 episodes.
Yeah.
What do you credit then for your success, especially getting into podcasting back in 2015, when I don't think most people had even heard of a podcast?
Yeah. So to me, whether it's podcasting or weight loss or business or New Year's resolution, the key formula for me is the why. The big capital WHY has to be bigger and stronger than the combined force of all the why nots all at once. So all the why nots, those are all going to happen, and they're going to happen in rapid succession. So that why had damn well better be big. And if it's not, you're going to quit. That's how the math works. So for me, when I started my first health show, I had all that, my personal health stuff. I had all that anxiety attack, all that. And I saw what was possible with podcasting. I'd become a fan of the medium of podcasting. I saw people selling things. I saw people building businesses and brands. I was like, I can do this. I had a lot of confidence that this was figure outable. And that I could do it. Now, did I think it was going to take me 3 years to make $37? No. But my advantage was I still had my gym going, and I could pay the bills. Like, I don't recommend people just quit their job without recording any episodes going, now I'm a podcaster and I'm going to make money like Adam. Like, it took me a while, but now, I mean, I make way more money than I ever did as a gym owner. And I worked, last year in 2022, I didn't work 177 days. And this year in 2023, I'll be well over 200 non-work days. And that's crazy. But I saw the leverage of the medium of podcasting. And so my why was huge. And honestly, if I'm being really honest, Kevin, back in 2015, I had a vision for what was possible, and it motivated the heck out of me. And me being honest, the reality I live today is even better than what I thought it was possible in 2015. I never thought I would get to a 3-day work week. I never thought I'd have the audience and the income that audience generates. It's just so much better. So I'm so glad I didn't quit, because it's crazy what I'm able to do and how efficiently I'm able to do it. I've got a VA, I'm able to pay myself 6 figures. My monthly expenses are usually less than $1,000 a month for my business, my entire business. Like, that's how efficient I'm able to do this. So I'm just glad I didn't give up. But I feel like that was my main reason why I didn't quit. I think in general, though, a lot of podcasters quit because it's hobby mode, and they get this idea and they're like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing, and I like Joe Rogan, and I'm gonna get underwear sponsors. And then when none of that happens in the first 10 episodes, they quit because it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But to me, the seriousness level was a totally different level, different thing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. The whole mindset going into anything, I think, matters tremendously on what's going to happen on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious about this, is when you made the switch and you started podcasting business school, totally different topic from the health show. How was that for you? I mean, was it as successful as you maybe thought it was going to be? Not? How did that work? And when did that show even launch?
Yeah. So from my first experience in the health realm, that kind of set me up with the correct mindset for the business show. I'm like, all right, this is going to take some time. I'm gonna have to figure it out. It's a new space. And again, I was starting from zero. I had zero following with that type of a brand. I had zero email list with that type of a brand. And I had zero listeners with that type of a brand. Now, I did launch it before I sold my health show. So there was a little bit of intermixing buildup where I was doing both brands at the same time for about a year. So I launched it, I think, in late 2018. And so we had both shows going for about a year or so here. But there was a learning curve. Like, I threw some offers out there, and I'm like, oh, they're going to be all over this. And crickets, like, they were like, nope, not buying. And that was very similar to my health journey. So I had to figure out, what are the pain points in this realm? What do people want? And so it just took some time to get to know my audience a little bit. And that's where I tell a lot of podcasters, I'm like, if you're in your first year of being a podcaster, this is just practice. Like, you're just figuring out how to be a podcaster. So there's no such thing as failure. You're just trying things. And it's not necessarily that if you try like a membership offer or a mastermind offer, nobody buys it. It's not necessarily a bad offer. It just might be the wrong time, because your audience, you've got 12 people listening to your show and you need 1,000 people listening to your show. And that just takes time. So I tried some things fearlessly, as always. And a few things started to click. And most of that was anything that involved me one-on-one directly. So I kind of brushed everything else off the table. I'm like, I'm only doing coaching, consulting offers. This is what people are saying yes to. I've got a smaller audience that I'm building up. And this is how I'm really going to be able to replace my income, not only for my gym, but for my health show, and really transition into this space fully. So like creating my membership, the Download Growth Club, that was a definite pain point that I found out podcasters are obsessed with. Like, they really want to grow their audience and they're not sure how to do it. So that was a very successful offer. And then just my one-on-one coaching consulting has always been really rock steady as far as just people are interested. And, I'm thankful for that people are interested in working one-on-one. And some people don't like one-on-one coaching. I got no problem with it. I love it. I love getting to lock eyes with people and say, what are you struggling with? And let's focus in on that and solve that pain point. So those are the first couple of aha moments where I saw something working and I just doubled down on that. And I've just slowly added things to the monetization, what I call the podcast monetization pyramid, kind of your business portfolio of offers. And we test and I listen to my audience. And if they don't want it, I don't build it. That's my basic rule.
I love it so much. Now, so as we listen to you and we're like, okay, the guy's legit. He seems like he knows what he's talking about. He's obviously spending those 3 days a week wisely. I'm kind of curious, though, for those of us who are of the mindset that there's not enough time in the day, how do you, though, operate this level of business inside of 3 days a week? Like legit, like are those 3 days like just balls to the walls from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m.? I don't think so, knowing you, but I'm just kind of curious, how does that even work? How have you been able to structure your lifestyle to do that?
Yeah, great question. So every day that I work has a purpose. And one rule is I have to say no to a very good amount of things. And I've got specific rules to guard my time. And sometimes that rubs people the wrong way, but I'm like, this is worth it to me. If somebody gets a little pissed off because I can only do, I'm like, yeah, you just paid me $5,000 for coaching and we can only do it on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. That's how it is. And I'll gladly refund if that's not convenient. And I haven't had anybody that I've had to do that with because they're excited to work with me. But so there are rules for each day. So let's address one of the questions. Like, are we just doing balls to the wall, super long days? Tuesday is the beginning of my work week. That is the longest day by far. So I always get up at 5 a.m. every single day, regardless I'm working or not. That's just when I wake up. And I'll get up and I'm usually working, doing some sort of work from 5:30 until about 6:15 or 6:30. But then I got to go back into dad mode where it's like, all right, breakfast for the kids, get them up and ready for school, the whole thing, packing lunches, all that deal. So I'm not back working again until probably 9 a.m. So then from 9 a.m., I'll hit it pretty hard until 3 p.m. I've usually got a full schedule and I'll go over the themes of my days here in a minute. But then break from 3 to 4. That's when I'll do my dinner meal or whatever. And then I'll go from 4 until 7 p.m. And then I'm usually done by 7 p.m. Every once in a while I'll go until 8 p.m. But that's the long day. Wednesday, same deal in the morning, get up at 5, get my newsletter out, all that stuff. I take the kids to school. My wife picks up, but I'm usually done by, again, 4 p.m. on that day. So that's more of like a 9 to 4. And then honestly on Thursday, I'm usually done by noon. Like I'm working out by 1. So really it's like a 2.5 day work week. And there's nothing left for me to do. I'm so efficient with that. I'm like, well, might as well go work out and just kind of call it quits for the day. And that's when I post these like braggy Instagram things of like me closing out my 3-day work week. And it's me with like, I do deep fakes where I'm wearing like bright pink pants, dancing around like an idiot and stuff like that, just to piss people off. But so that's the layout. But the focus points are the key thing. So Tuesday is my creation and coaching day. So the first part of the day, that first hour block, I'll map out my 2 podcast episodes that I'm going to record that day. And then from 9 to 11, I'm recording, editing, producing, and doing social media assets for those 2 episodes. So then I'm good. I'm always 3 weeks ahead on my show. So that whatever I create in that time block, that's going to be released 3 weeks from that day, 2 to 3 weeks from that day. Then I go into coaching the rest of the day, coaching, consulting, discovery sessions, the entire rest of the day. Or like, today's a Tuesday I'm recording content for other people's shows. So like if people invite me on their show and like, I only interview on Monday, I'm like, I'm out. I don't work on Mondays. I apologize, but that's just, I got dad things to do. So, like that's another kind of hard ass thing I have to be about, but that's just the rule. If I'm going to take the day off, I got to take the day off. So Tuesday's more of a creation day. I go live, I'm doing coaching. I'm content creating for my own stuff, for other people's platforms. Wednesday, is more of a project development day. So like I'm developing a mastermind for 2024. I'm going to work on that tomorrow morning. I'm launching a second show with a special format. I'm going to work on that tomorrow. I always keep a list of my top 5 major projects, and whatever is number 1 and sometimes number 2, that'll get work. That I'll push those forward on Wednesdays. And I'll do a little bit of coaching. I usually don't create content unless it's being interviewed for somebody else's show, or I get invited to speak in a lot of masterminds. So I'll do those on Wednesdays as well. And then Thursdays is all like busy work and wrapping up the week. And I set up my next week's schedule. So any follow-ups, anything that I got to tie up at the end of the week, if I did some consultations or discovery calls, follow up and go, hey, do you have any questions? Are we working together? Blah, blah, blah. And then I'll zero out my email. So I always end the week inbox 0, 100%. And then I map out my schedule and my goals for the next week. So I've only got a 3-item checklist for each week. The 3 major things that I need to get done for me to consider that a successful week. If I check all those boxes, successful week, 3 things. That's how I always set it up. That's another thing I learned in the strategic coach program. So I set up my 3 things for the next week. I look at my schedule. Got to look at my basketball coaching schedule, my dad's schedule, my husband's schedule, in addition to my entrepreneurial schedule. And I make sure that's mapped out. I keep it in a Google Doc, and that's it. I mean, that's each day has its own theme, and it's not like, there's that Neapolitan ice cream. And when you buy it, it's got the chocolate, it's got the vanilla, it's got the strawberry, and most people's schedules, it looks like Neapolitan ice cream melted together. Like it all just kind of happens all at once. And with me, like you see the chocolate, you see the vanilla, you see the strawberry clearly within each day. There's a theme, and then nothing bleeds together. So that's how I get it all done. That's the exact system that I use.
If you are not monetizing by creating the Atom Super Planner by the end of, the year, there's something wrong with you. Because literally, I'm sitting here thinking, like, this guy's like a walking, talking human version of the most iconic planner known to mankind. And so I'm like, it's got to be the Atom Super Planner or something,
Yeah. Except when people get the Google Doc, people ask me for this all the time. And then they see the Google Doc and they're like, but there's only room for 3 things. I'm like, yeah, that's part of the magic. But what about my 400 item list? I'm like, yeah, we get rid of the 397 things. And then you start doing the 3 things that actually matter, and you start making money and making impact. So yeah, it's a spreadsheet with 3 cells on it. It's the Super Atom Planner of 3 things. That's one of the motivating factors behind my mastermind. Like I want to teach people that when I get this thing launched. So that is definitely coming. So I'm glad that idea popped into your head, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, one thing that I'm kind of curious about, obviously these 3 days of the week are structured there for a reason. How does Adam, host, coach, speaker, go transition to just dad and husband on the other 4 days of the week? Is your everyday life still structured, or is it more just normal everyday person?
Dude, I love this question. So let me blow your mind. It is harder for me to transition into entrepreneur mode than it is into dad mode at this point.
What?
Like it is so hard. Tuesday morning is rough. I'm like, man, I gotta figure out what I'm going to, create. Once I get going, I'm fine. But that is where I feel that where I'm just kind of spinning my wheels a little bit. Like sometimes I just got to mess around a little bit on Tuesday morning and kind of get my brain jarred loose and get going. But man, I hit the ground running on Friday morning. And to answer the second part of your question, yes, my non-work days are as structured or even more structured and busier than my work days, because it's all about the kids. It's all about me, my wife, friends, my parents, whatever. Like we keep a real busy family schedule. I'm like, man, on Fridays, I'll work out for an hour and a half for the first session. And then I'll come back. I'll do another 30 minutes of like cardio. Then I'll go sit in the sauna for 20. That's like 2.5 hours of just fitness stuff. I'll do my ice plunge. I'll map out my son's workouts. I'll, train him for an hour after school. I'll batch cook. I'm cooking food for the whole family for the next few days, mapping out practice schedule for my basketball team that I coach, and just all these things. So it's very involved. And then one of the things I love to do on my non-work days is I set learning goals. So I just pick a topic. I'm like, this is the next thing that I want to learn about to just be a more effective human or dad or husband or whatever. And so like early on, I learned about how to do my own taxes. I was like, this is a skill that I feel like I need. I don't do my own taxes, but I could. And that has saved me so much money, because when I turn my taxes in, if my accountant screws up, I can figure that out. There've been a few 5-figure mistakes that I'm like, listen, Jeffy Poo, you missed this thing here. And because anytime anybody goes to an accountant anywhere in the world, their office is just full of those manila folders everywhere. Like there's this people's crap everywhere. And I'm like, stuff is going to be messed up. So I got to be the backup. I got to be competent enough to know that, no, this is way off. I overpaid, I underpaid. And, so anyway, so that's one of my learning things. I'm obviously big on like health hacks and things like that. So I'm always looking at benefits of sauna, cold plunges, different routines and things like that for myself and for my family. Now I'm really nerding out on home repair. Like I want to know if like our sink there's like this goo coming out every time we use the sink. And I'm like, I need to be able to fix this, like without calling somebody and paying $500. So I'm learning how to do YouTube, and I'm listening to podcasts, of course, to, download this information and just level up my life experience. Travel rewards hacking. I figured out how to, I don't pay for flights anytime. I just use travel rewards points, and I've just got, hundreds of thousands of travel rewards points and like all these things, but I just spend time learning all these hacks so that, I've just got a more pleasing life experience, and it bleeds into my wife, my kids, my friends, anybody who'll listen to me. So yeah, I keep a really, really busy schedule. I'm not just sitting in my underwear on the couch watching Game of Thrones all day, but I could if I wanted
to. And you know what? And that's what matters, is you could if you wanted to. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, Adam, man, listen, dude, you are probably one of the most just genuinely amazing people I've ever met. And when I wanted to do this mini series on the podcast, highlighting my favorite people in the podcasting space, an industry that has just given so much to me, you, my sir, were the first on my list, because through your podcast, that's how I first came to know you, was listening to Podcasting Business School, implementing what you taught, then getting in your world on your podcasters Zoom parties, and then doing, some of your, offers that you do with these podcast audits and all of that, dude, to even then your emails that you send out with that personal note. You are just, as I said, an incredible guy, a huge heart, a massive personality. I am absolutely just blessed to have you in my life, and it has been an honor to have you on my show today.
Well, dude, I accept that compliment. I accept those many compliments. And honestly, like, you could have been talking about how I feel about you too, man. Like, you're somebody, like I said at the beginning, when I interact, and anybody that has reached out to Kevin in the DMs or sent emails, you know what I'm talking about. Like, this dude is an energy giver. You plug into the world of Kevin, you come out better than you first started off with. So I'm just so proud of you, man. Like, I know that you've been kind of fearless with pivoting and changing the name of the show and doing all this stuff. And I'm really excited because I feel like you're starting to hit your stride. And I'm genuinely excited to follow your journey and watch you I see a lot of my own journey and your journey. I'm like, oh, and here's where he's at now. I remember being there. So it's really cool. So I think great things are just around the corner for you. And, you're somebody that you inspire me too. So I appreciate you sharing your platform. It's always an honor when somebody asks me to come on and kick a little knowledge on their show.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Well, Adam, man, that means the world to me. I thank you so much for it. Before we close out today, I'll be sure that all of your information, of course, is in the show notes, because if you are somebody who are even thinking remotely that maybe a podcast could be a thing for you, well, Podcasting Business School is for you. Adam, where's the best place for them to go to find out more about you and just to kind of get in your realm?
Yeah. If you guys hang out on social media, I'm on Instagram at Podcasting Business School. And my website is www.podcastingbusiness.school. Just come on over to my house and hang out. Let's go.
Sweet, dude. Adam, thank you for being here. And for you listening, I want to thank you for being here because, well, this show is only still here in our 200s because of you. And I just want to thank you for tuning in each and every week. With that said, my name is Kevin Lowe, and this is Grit, Grace, and Inspiration.